Ambedkar.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi to deliver a keynote address virtually at the high-level segment of United Nations Economic and Social Council session today. Session to focus on multilateralism after COVID-19, which resonates with India's Security Council priority of reformed multilateralism. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh arrives in Leh on a two-day visit to Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir, reviews preparedness of armed forces at Pangong Tso. Raksha Mantri says talks are underway to resolve the border dispute. Says if solution can be found through talks, there is nothing better. Assures no one can take our land by any power in the world. 3 terrorists, including one wanted terrorist, killed in an encounter with security forces in Kulgam in Jammu and Kashmir. Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan to co-chair second India-US Strategic Energy Partnership Ministerial meeting along with US Secretary of Energy. Dialogue to be held through video conferencing. Flood and landslide situation continues to remain grim with over 97 people dead in Assam. Chief Minister Sonowal takes a stock of the situation. In Bihar, most rivers are flowing above the danger mark. And COVID recovery rate continues to improve across India and rises to over 63% with over 6.35 lakh recoveries. Active cases stand at 3.4 lakhs with nearly 25,000 fatalities. Namaskar, you're with the latest here on DD News and DD India. I'm Gautam Roy. Now first up, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be delivering a keynote address at this year's high-level segment of the United Nations Economic and Social Council session on Friday at the United Nations in New York. The PM will be speaking at the valedictory session along with Prime Minister of Norway and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. And Prime Minister Modi in a tweet said about this, and I quote, at 8:30 this evening, I would be addressing the high-level segment of ECOSOC, would be speaking on various issues including this year's theme of multilateralism after COVID-19, at a time when we mark 75 years of the UN. Now, the theme of this year's high-level segment is multilateralism after COVID-19. What kind of UN do we need at the 75th anniversary? Set against a changing international environment and the COVID-19 pandemic, this session will focus on critical forces shaping the course of multilateralism and explore ways to bolster the global agenda through strong leadership, effective international institutions, a broadening of participation and enhanced significance of global public goods. This will be the first opportunity for Prime Minister Modi to address the broader UN membership since India's overwhelming election as a non-permanent member of the Security Council on the 17th of June for the term of 2021-22. Now, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh has reached Leh this morning on a two-day visit to forward areas of Jammu and Kashmir as well as Ladakh. The Raksha Mantri visited forward post in eastern Ladakh region today. He was briefed by senior Air Force officials about preparedness and the aircraft at their disposal. Raksha Mantri witnessed a demonstration of coordination between Indian Army and Air Force at Tikse Rambirpur in Leh. The Defence Minister, along with the Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat, Chief of Army Staff MM Narbane and Northern Command Lieutenant General YK Joshi, along with senior Army officers of Fire and Fury, were present at the demonstration. Later, addressing troops in Lukung, a forward post, the Raksha Mantri said talks are underway to resolve the border dispute. He said if solution can be found through talks, there's nothing better. He assured soldiers that no one can take our land by any power in the world. This is the Defence Minister's first visit to Ladakh after the standoff between India and China in the eastern part of that union territory.
जो कुछ अब तक की प्रगति हुई है बातचीत की, मामला हल होना चाहिए, लेकिन मैं इतना यकीन दिलाना चाहता हूं कि भारत की 1 इंच जमीन को भी दुनिया की कोई ताकत छू नहीं सकती है, उस पर कब्जा नहीं कर सकती.
And we're joined by our correspondent Ramesh Chandra from Leh here for more updates on this. Ramesh, just give us an update in terms of what kind of inputs has the Raksha Mantri given about how this de-escalation has been proceeding through different levels of dialogue.
Yeah, Gautam, this is the first visit of the face-off and of a standoff between India and China in the region, Eastern Ladakh region. And now, today, he had come to Leh and he had gone to forward post. That is more important, where the actual friction is taking place, the Pangangso Finger 4. And he had gone there at the very post, and he was interacting with armed forces and paramilitary forces of ITBP at the Lukung post, which is one post which is having both ITBP and armed forces. And see, these Finger 4 is in the contention now. And 2 days back, when corps commanders were talking about disengagement and de-escalation of tensions at friction points, this was one of the key places which was under talks. And India has insisted everything of PLA has to be vacated from Finger 4. There is no second opinion in that, and this has to be cleared. And
Right.
up to Finger 8 is Indian territory. This
Yes.
is very clear message India has sent. And now today, when he was addressing the troops there at Lukung post, and he made it very clear. And
Okay.
he is intended for peace, and if it is not accepted, then we are ready for anything.
And we've played out the images of the demonstration as well. You know, the coordination between the Air Force and the Army at that high altitude location and extremely difficult terrain. So that, Ramesh, is a statement in itself. Tell us a little bit more about the demonstration.
Yeah, this demonstration for a place like high altitude place like Ladakh, and especially the eastern Ladakh is even higher at elevation, about 15,000 feet, and it is inaccessible otherwise because the forward posts are imaginary, and the line of actual control is imaginary. So you have to be cautious about where you are and how you are reaching there. And in such circumstances, in such critical and very hostile conditions, Indian Army is safeguarding the borders there at along the LAC. Now, this demonstration, which has given a strength and which has given a sense of coordination, how Indian
Yes.
Army and Indian Air Force are in coordination and well connected with terminology and their movement and their communications. All these were demonstrated to Defence Minister Rajnath Singh in the presence of Bipin Rawat, CDS, and Army General M.M. Narwane. This shows how Indian Army armed forces of 3 sections are, how coordinated they are, and how they are connected with each other to support and to complement their acts at the ground.
Well, certainly, and that shows that our territory there is in safe hands. The levels of preparedness are extremely high. Thanks a lot for joining us, Ramesh, for the moment. So that was Ramesh Chandra from Leh. Now, news from Jammu and Kashmir. At least 3 terrorists have been gunned down in an encounter with security forces in Kulgam. The encounter started between the terrorists and security forces at Nagnad Chimar area of Kulgam in South Kashmir this morning. State forces launched a cordon and search operation in Nagnad Chimar area of Kulgam after receiving specific information about the presence of the terrorists there. The search operation turned into an encounter after the terrorists opened fire at a search party. One terrorist has been identified as Walid, a Pakistani national.
एक मिलिटेंट का पहचान हुआ जो बहुत फेमस था, जैश का कमांडर वलीद भाई, पाकिस्तान का है और पिछले 1.5 साल से यहाँ एक्टिव है और ये आईडी एक्सपर्ट भी है। अभी तक हमारी इनकाउंटर से 4 बार भागने में कामयाब होगा। रिसेंटली जो इनकाउंटर में भाग गया था उसमें सब पीका गन जो मशीन गन था मिला था हम लोगों को। ये मोस्ट वांटेड टेररिस्ट था और ये इसके मारे जाने से पुलिस में, सिक्योरिटी फोर्स में एक अच्छी खुशी जाहिर किया है और ये बहुत बड़ी अचीवमेंट है।
So clearly the days showing that be it Ladakh or Jammu and Kashmir, our forces are fully prepared to meet any challenge, whatever might be thrown their way. Moving on, Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan will co-chair the second India-US Strategic Energy Partnership Ministerial meeting along with US Secretary of Energy Dan Brouillette as the two nations seek to bolster energy cooperation. The meeting was originally scheduled to be held in Washington in April this year, but it got postponed due to the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic. And as a run-up to the dialogue, both the leaders participated in an industry-level event on Wednesday, where Petroleum Minister Pradhan invited US companies and investors to engage and invest in India in new opportunities. Now, the ACP has 4 primary pillars of cooperation: oil and gas, power and energy efficiency, renewable energy and sustainable growth. Cooperation in natural gas sector has been identified as a priority area between India and the US. India is expecting investment of over $118 billion in oil and gas exploration, as well as in setting up natural gas infrastructure, including development of gas supply and distribution networks in the next 5 years. The Government of India in February 2018 had elevated India-US energy dialogue to a strategic energy partnership, that's an SEP, to be co-chaired by Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas. US side is co-chaired by US Secretary of Energy. The SEP was formally announced during the visit of Honorable Prime Minister of India to the US in June 2017, and the first ministerial meeting was held in New Delhi in April 2018. Let's get you some update on the weather situation as well. Well, flood situation in many districts of Bihar remain grim. The Gandak, Buri Gandak, Bagmati, Adwara, Kamla Balan, Kosi, Mahananda and Paraman rivers are flowing above the danger mark. Floods have worsened due to the rising water level of Kosi and Bagmati rivers in the low-lying area of Khagaria district. In western Champaran's Bagaha, due to the overflowing Masan river, half a dozen villages are under threat of being affected. More than 2 lakh people have already been affected due to the floods. Rescue operations are on in full swing, and so far more than 3,000 people have been evacuated. On the other hand, the Met Department has predicted light rain in the catchment areas of all the rivers of Bihar today. And furthermore, the flood situation has deteriorated in many parts of Assam, as the number of affected people has risen to around 40 lakh. Over 3,000 villages in 27 districts are still under flood waters, with 5 more deaths reported on Thursday. Flood-induced fatality in the state has reached the figure of 71 this year. Adding to this, deaths have been taking place due to landslides, and the number has now climbed, including that figure, to 97. Now, as the situation stands, Dhubri district is the worst affected district, followed by Barpeta, Gwalpara, Morigaon, with above 4 lakh affected in each district. Meanwhile, rescue operation teams of NDRF and SDRF are continuing their operations and shifted 2,737 marooned people to safer places. Assam Chief Minister Sarbananda Sonowal has visited and interacted with inhabitants of flood relief camps in Nagaon district. He also visited KAZIRANGA National Park to take stock of the flood situation. And with the KAZIRANGA National Park being flooded, the Assam Forest Department, along with National Tiger Conservation Authority of the Government of India, has been successfully rescuing wildlife every day since the floods hit the park. Forest officials, with assistance of civil administration, are providing veterinary services to the affected animals. Creation of highlands has largely benefited the rescue work. A flood management plan has also been put in place to safeguard the animals. In a tweet, Union Minister said, and I quote, "Happy to note that so far we have been able to rescue 121 animals in KAZIRANGA. Creation of highlands was a key initiative undertaken by the Narendra Modi government during the last 5 years. This year also we are creating more to save precious wildlife." That's a statement by Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Prakash Javadekar. Now, in Rajasthan, hearing before the Assembly Speaker has been deferred to 5 p.m. as a division bench of the Rajasthan High Court is slated to hear a petition filed by Sachin Pilot and 18 other Congress MLAs against disqualification notices issued to them. Meanwhile, a division bench of the Rajasthan High Court is hearing a petition filed by Sachin Pilot and 18 other Congress MLAs against disqualification notices issued to them by Assembly Speaker C.P. Joshi. Pilot and others approached the Rajasthan High Court over disqualification notice seeking the quashing and setting aside of the show cause notice issued to them on the 14th of July by the Speaker of the Rajasthan Legislative Assembly. MLAs were asked to present themselves before the Assembly Speaker by Friday. And let's now take a look at the COVID-19 update that we're receiving from across the country. Well, a total of 6.35 lakh people have recovered from the disease. According to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, a total of 6,35,756 people infected with the coronavirus have recovered across the country so far. With this, the recovery rate has reached 63.33%. Now, the total number of active cases in the country is 3,42,437. Meanwhile, the Indian Council of Medical Research, that's the ICMR, has said that a total of 3,33,228 tests of coronavirus samples have been conducted by various laboratories within the last 24 hours. This is the highest number of tests conducted by laboratories in one day since the outbreak of COVID-19 in the country. So far, 1,30,72,718 tests have been conducted. Now, according to the Health and Family Welfare Ministry, continuous decline has been recorded in daily growth rate of COVID-19 cases from 31.28% in the beginning of April to 3.49% in mid-July. Rising recovery rate from 52% in mid-June to more than 63% in mid-July is aiding continuous decline in COVID-19 active cases. Now, in Odisha, state government has announced 14-day complete lockdown in parts of the state starting from 9 p.m. today. The decision was taken in the wake of rising coronavirus cases in certain districts. Complete lockdown will be imposed in Ganjam, Khordha, Cuttack, Jajpur districts as well as Rourkela Municipal Corporation area till the 31st of July midnight. And during this lockdown, all shops, offices and institutions will remain closed and mobility of people will be restricted. However, some central government offices, including post offices, telecom, will be exempted from the restrictions. While operations in airports, railway stations and bus terminals will also be permitted, public transport and private vehicles to and from airports, railway station and bus terminals will be allowed for facilitating movement of passengers. Meanwhile, shops selling medicines, vegetables, groceries and milk will be allowed to be open between 6 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. Also, home delivery of essential food items will be allowed. And further on, in streets of Panaji, there is a deserted look because Goa is observing a lockdown from today in view of the rising cases of COVID-19. Goa currently has 1,272 active cases. The state government has announced a Janta curfew between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. till the 10th of August and complete lockdown for 3 days on Friday, Saturday and Sunday this week. Only essential services including taxis are allowed to function. Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant visited Sevapuri block in Varanasi to take stock of the work being carried out for development of the block. Niti Aayog is all set to transform Sevapuri block to a model block. Officers of both central and state governments were also present to ensure the development work be completed in stipulated time. Niti Aayog has launched a pilot project to saturate rural development due to COVID-19, and Sevapuri development block of the district has been selected first block for the purpose. All the village panchayats of the development block are to be saturated with development and welfare schemes being run by the government at the centre and in the state, so that the benefits of all the schemes can reach all beneficiaries within 90 days. An IIT Madras incubated startup has developed a portable hospital unit that can be installed anywhere in 2 hours to screen, identify, isolate and treat COVID-19 patients in their local communities through portable microstructures. Called Medicab, the portable unit is foldable and is composed of 4 zones: a doctor's room, an isolation room, a medical room or ward, and a twin-bed ICU, and is maintained at negative pressure. When folded, the collapsible cabins are reduced 5-fold in size, making the entire apparatus very cost-effective for transportation. Medicab has been launched recently in Wayanad district in Kerala, where the units are being deployed to treat COVID-19 patients. Sriram Ravichandran, CEO of the company, said the outcome of the pilot project in Kerala would help improving the applicability of the technology and advantages of micro-hospitals as an instant infrastructure solution.
These are pre-engineered structures that can be set up anywhere and anytime. When COVID-19 struck humanity, team modelers realized that the world needed a much better and faster health infrastructure. Medicab is the first of its kind to be successfully registered under Central Drug Standard Control Organization. It proved its effectiveness to hold the cabin at a negative pressure even on such a hilly terrain. The entire hospital was transported on a single vehicle only. These cabins can be custom built in a factory, and 2 or more such cabins can be gained together to form a bigger intermeshed facility.
Now, newly elected members of Rajya will take oath on the 22nd of July in the House chamber. 61 members were recently elected to the Rajya from 20 states. This is the first time that oath taking of members will take place in the House chamber during the inter-session period, so as to maintain norms of physical distancing due to COVID-19. However, each member would be allowed only 1 guest to accompany them at the oath-taking ceremony. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu has decided this in keeping with the view of resumption of meetings by the department-related parliamentary standing committees of both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, and keen interest expressed by the new members to participate in such meetings. Let's now get you a look at the global updates as far as COVID-19 is concerned, where the coronavirus outbreak has claimed the lives of over 5.89 lakh people worldwide, while over 1.38 crore have contracted the infection so far. US and Brazil remain the worst affected in terms of COVID-19 infections and fatalities. The US has so far recorded over 35.63 lakh cases and over 1.38 lakh deaths, while Brazil has crossed the 20 lakh mark and recorded over 20.12 lakh infections and over 76,600 deaths. And speaking of the fatalities worldwide, US and Brazil are followed by the UK with over 45,200 fatalities, further followed by Mexico, Italy and France. And that's all we have for the moment in this edition of the news. For all the latest, stay tuned to DD News. Up next is Dr. Speak, where we get you the experts on COVID-19 for all your medical queries. Stay tuned.